with NFL free agency officially underway and the NFL draft fast approaching, we decided we're going to do a little breakdown of our top 5 prospects in the draft at each position. We're going to start with quarterbacks. Now, quarterbacks isn't necessarily a position of need, but it's still a very intriguing position. So we want to talk about that. From here on out, we're going to base it more along position of need for our upcoming videos on this. But quarterbacks, let's jump right into what we're thinking here.
Before we jump in there, though, I want to thank everybody for watching the GG Sport podcast of the Minnesota Vikings, where we endure heartbreak but always bleed purple. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell, get those notifications, and keep watching our stuff.
For all these players, we watched highlights, so I mean, obviously, we don't get to see a lot of like their downsides. But I think Sam Howell looks like he has the right size to be a solid quarterback, 6'1", 218. 9 1/8 inch hands. But upon watching him, the thing I didn't like is I felt like he was way too, like, it was too much take one look, if nothing's there, then run. I don't know. With that, I wasn't in love with that style of play. I think that style of play can get quarterbacks hurt. And I mean, maybe at the pro level, someone can develop him, but I don't think he really grades out as a pro-ready prospect to start, in my own opinion. What do you think?
See, I think so. I definitely understand the concerns with running quarterbacks and getting hurt because it does happen. But I think the thing is in this league, it seems to be a big benefit to be able to run. I know, you do have the Lamar Jacksons who, he might not be able to throw the ball the best sometimes, but I mean, he's an MVP of the league and has went deep into playoffs. And pretty much mostly from his legs. And then you got obviously the Russell Wilsons, the Deshaun Watsons. So I think it's really cool, a really good skill to have in it. And it's a whole nother, brings a whole nother dimension to the offense. So it's kind of like one of those things like, yeah, someone could get hurt from doing that. But at the same time, like if they can avoid injury, I guess, and learn how to slide and things like that. I think it could just turn your offense into a lot better, I guess. But so that's how I just feel about running quarterbacks in general. And then about him, so that I'm not as concerned about it. He's not a super small dude or anything. I think he can take a couple blows, but I think other than that, he shows to have like a pretty big arm, solid pocket presence and awareness. Like you mentioned, the running ability. I would say if other knocks on him was we did think that his throwing motion was kind of slower and it did kind of just look kind of weird, I guess. And he didn't really seem to avoid or evade pressure a
just
ton.
Kind of ran.
Yeah, he just run or like extended plays with his arms. You didn't really see that. I would say in Sam Howell's defense, though, before this season, he didn't really do the running thing as much. So it's kind of like a skill that he's decided to use more than he used to.
Right.
That could end up being an injury problem, but at the same time, at least it's not like he might not always have that run first mentality all the time because it's kind of newer.
Right. But the stats are kind of there with him, honestly.
Yeah, let's run through the stats.
Yeah, I mean, 62.5% completion, 3,056 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 picks, not terrible. Pass rating 154.2, rushing yards 828, and 11 touchdowns. So I mean, that is solid. That's solid numbers. But I just I look at that and I think was it him the year before he had some big some gaudy touchdown to interception ratio.
Well, I think he might have. I think after his freshman year, I just know after his freshman year, he got super hyped up, and I saw some people thinking of him as a potential top 5 pick in the draft. I saw some future draft boards having him at even number 1, and then his career must have not went as well as people thought it was going to be or whatever. But now he's kind of fallen off a little bit, and you can kind of see when you look at him compared to these other quarterbacks in this draft. Even a lot of people don't think this is a good year for quarterbacks. You can see that the other quarterbacks I feel like just seem to have a bigger skill set. I mean, he went against average competition, or not average, but pretty good competition in his conference. too. So I think, I mean, he might not be pro ready right away, but I think he does have a chance to turn into a pretty good quarterback.
He's a project. He's a project quarterback, which a lot of teams, a little later on in the draft, they'll take a chance on something like that potentially. So, all right, anything else about Howell, or you want to move on to number 4?
Let's move on to number 4.
All right, number 4, Matt Corral, Ole Miss quarterback. So Matt Corral, there's a lot of things about him that I liked as we were watching his tape. I mean, the height and weight, sorry about this, 6'2", 212. He had a 30-inch wingspan, 9 and 5/8 inch hands.
That's just 30-inch arms.
Those are some big meaty claws right there.
Right.
Didn't work out with the combine, so we don't know a lot of his. Obviously, I think he's going to save a lot of stuff for his pro day. But I like the way that he throws the ball. He's got a nice arm. That's really the first thing that popped out to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so what I like about him the most is, and actually we'll dive into his stats in a little bit. Actually, no, I'm going to run through those real quick right now, because his stats in the SEC, obviously the highest level of competition in college, and he threw for 67.9 throwing percentage, 3,349 yards, 20 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, pass rating of 155.3, rushing 614 yards, and then 11 touchdowns, which is really solid stats especially when you're playing that type of competition. So that being said, I think I compare him kind of to like how I saw Sam Howell, except for he played much better competition. I think he has really good pocket presence, but I saw a little happy feet from him, and just like Sam Howell, I didn't see him escape the pocket very often or extend plays and like keep his eyes down the field and throw the ball down. I've seen some people think he has a lot of zip on the ball. I personally, when I watched him, I felt like, not compared to guys like Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett, he just didn't have that same zip. He does start. I know his run style, especially with you. His run style is running like a running back, which isn't good for a quarterback. They can get hurt. But I mean, you got to love that this guy is willing to take contact, and he can take some blows and break some tackles, and it's exciting to watch at the very least.
Yeah, definitely. I don't like that running style for a quarterback. I mean, I think, and it's it shows guttiness. It's good for team morale to know your quarterback will take some hits, but I mean, and at the next level, his coaches are probably going to tell him, you got to get out of bounds or get down. You can't take those hits. But right. I mean, but the stats show he's got potential. I think he's probably another project guy. I don't think he's going to come in and start right away, but the yardage is good. That touchdown interception ratio, it shows he's safe with the ball at the very least. Only 5 interceptions. So I think there's a pretty big distinction between him, Howell, and then maybe our number 1 and 2 guy on this list. But I think he's going to be a guy that'll probably get taken, potentially first round, maybe early second at the very latest. I think he's a project quarterback for sure. Yeah,
I mean, on the plus side for him, like I said, he played in the SEC, so he played against top competition. So he could be more pro ready than what we think. But I mean, overall, he had a really good season with Ole Miss there. And I mean, I don't know. If he was there at our second round pick, I'd probably take a shot at him.
Yeah, it's something. It's solid base to work off of, as you said, playing in a really strong conference.
Yeah, he definitely has that running ability. I want to see more escaping and avoiding pressure and getting the ball down the field. But I think he has the tools to do that and get better at that too.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Number 3, we got Desmond Ridder, quarterback out of Cincinnati. Cincinnati Bearcats were part of the college football playoff this year. I like Desmond Ridder. I mean, I know people were saying he could have been probably a higher pick had he came out last year. He decided to go back to school for another season, and I think he's got everything you want in a quarterback. The size pops out to you, 6'3", 211, 10-inch hands is freaking meaty claws again. This is what you want in a quarterback, big hands,
Yeah.
Yeah, very athletic. We noticed he wasn't like he's definitely a guy that'll process what's going on the field. He's got good scrambling ability. He keeps his eyes downfield, which I really like to see. That's one knock I had on Howell is too much tuck and run instead of keeping your eyes downfield as you move around that pocket. When he does run, though, he sneakily fast. It's like I don't know if he's as much quick. He's got long strides, I noticed, and that's I really like that. Like you need a guy like and I think we were watching we were watching film of Carson Strong, and Carson Strong just doesn't have that at all. He's immobile. And so that's just the nice thing to see about Ridder. He got a good arm, and he moves around the pocket well. So
yeah.
I
agree. That's what I think my favorite thing about him is that he is a throwing first quarterback, but he obviously, after watching the combine, he has all the athleticism that you would want for your quarterback to also be able to run and maneuver in the pocket or out of the pocket. So that's what I think is really good about him is he can do the running thing, but it's not his first instinct, even though he has all the athleticism to do that.
Right.
So we'll go into some stats, right? Because you didn't go into those, right?
Nope, not yet.
No. So for some stats, so passing percentage, 64.9%, 3,334 yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. All these stats are from the past season. Passer rater of 158.7. He had 355 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. Like people know from the combine, he ran a 40 time of 4.49, which is insane. And
I like him. If he's there in the second round, and
I don't think he will, but I definitely would take him there because not even just that, but look,
I would take him too.
He took that Cincinnati's team to the playoffs, and they went 13-1 on the season. I mean, that's super impressive. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that to happen. So,
and I love the size. He's got that prototypical quarterback size, being 6'3", 211. We noticed he's got a big arm. He can make throws, but he doesn't have that zip as the ball leaves his hands. You see from some of like the higher, probably the higher graded quarterbacks.
Right.
He had a couple underthrows as well, but man, overall, I really like Desmond Ridder. I would be pumped if we could get him. I think whoever gets him, I don't know if he's going to be a day one starter, but they're going to get a guy who in the next couple of years could be a solid starter for any team. So I think he's got a pretty bright future.
Anyone on this list is a for sure day one starter.
Right.
But I do have someone in mind. Our number one is the one in mind that I think is the most likely to start day one.
Yeah.
Regardless of where he gets drafted.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. Any other thoughts on Desmond Ridder?
Now let's go to our number 2.
On to number 2, Liberty quarterback Malik Willis.
I want to say
what?
I was just going to say first off, I think we had we weren't so sure between him and our number 1 to see who would be our number 1. They're kind of close. We've jumped in on this hype a little bit with Malik Willis just because his intangibles are insane. But we did a deep dive look, or more of a deep dive look, and we kind of took the information and kind of went a little bit more on the safer route, I'd say. But
yeah, I think he's still raw. Obviously, I know level of competition, we've kind of been going over that. His level of competition was pretty low, and I think that's one of the biggest knocks on him right off the bat. But as Jamie said, tons of ability. He likes to run, which is first off. He's a strong runner. However, he's one of those guys, as he moves around, he still does keep his eyes downfield. First thing that popped out to me watching him is he took a lot of unnecessary hits. I thought I would have, again, as going back to the other quarterbacks, he's got to learn to get down or get out of bounds. If you already got a first down and it's not near the end of the game, just play the next down. You never know what's going to happen if you take those hits. I think Jamie, he pointed out that when he gets in certain situations, I think he has a tendency to roll out right away. He's not super comfortable in the pocket and doesn't really go through his progressions much. It's kind of, sometimes he'll tuck the ball a little too early and run. But overall, I like him. I think he is a guy that's going to probably get overdrafted. No offense, but I think it's going to happen. But he could develop into a very solid player. What do you think?
Yeah, he's like the perfect boomer bust quarterback in this draft. He's someone that it's hard to believe he'll come in and be day one starter, but with the right coaching and stuff, he could become an insane player, like a Pro Bowl level court. He has all the intangibles to do that. I mean, the guy can run like crazy. He's super athletic. I mean, there's some plays that he avoided pressure, broke tackles, and got the ball down the field. He looks down the field when he's doing that. So that's a huge plus. A crazy arm. He has everything you really want from a quarterback. I mean, maybe he's a little short, I guess, but other than that, it's crazy. And, I would probably say I guess the concerning thing probably would be his accuracy, and also obviously you already mentioned playing in not against like the best competition
and taking too many hits.
Like you also said, he sits. I think he doesn't sit in the pocket long enough and go through all of his progressions. I think he seems to, if he doesn't see his first receiver open that he's looking at, I think he just wants to tuck and roll out or run instead of like kind of going through each one.
And I know you kind of mentioned with his throwing too, it almost looked like he kind of like does a little like elevates himself a little bit as he's throwing the football.
Yeah, which I'm not really sure if that matters that much, but,
I mean, but like, that's kind of what Drew Brees did too, because Drew Brees was a shorter quarterback, but he always saw he kind of got the push up before he threw the ball.
True.
So, but I think he's going to be one of those guys. I think he will develop into a solid starter. You want to run through his stats?
Yeah. So his passing percentage was 61.1%, which is the lowest of these five. Once again, he's not playing against the best competition, so that is kind of a little concerning. But who knows what his team and supporting cast is like,
Right. Yeah.
Yards 2,857, touchdowns 27 to 12 interceptions.
That's a little concerning as well.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned that with the accuracy as well there.
Right. So. Passer rating 151, rushing yards 878, touchdowns 13. Obviously, insanely talented in general, and has, definitely has the abilities. But it'll be interesting to see. I would say another positive though for sure is obviously he played very well at the Senior Bowl. He was there with other guys like Kenny Pickett and like a lot of good quarterbacks. I think most people said he had like the best Senior Bowl. And then also at the Combine, he had was doing really well throwing the ball there too. So
yeah,
I think that's kind of where the hype really started picking up on him. He's just that boomer bust guy where, he could be a star. Like he has the abilities that a star would need to have type of thing.
Yeah. Small school guy that needs a little bit of refinement going into his pro career. So a team will take him in the first round, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes from there. Our number one guy though, Pitts, small hands, Kenny Pickett. Obviously the hand size with Ken. Obviously, the first thing that jumps out is everybody knows about the hand size, 8.5-inch hands. People say kind of 9.5 inches is where that is where the hand size thing should start with a quarterback, which is why he wears gloves. Obviously, we Vikings fans have seen 2-glove quarterbacks before, but
it went all right.
Yeah, but outside of that, I really like what I see from Kenny Pickett. We both have agreed, great pocket awareness when it comes to moving around that pocket to avoid pressure. Very, very good at that. He can run when he has to. I love that he gets out of bounds and slides. That was one of my favorite things. And I think Jamie, you mentioned right away that it just looks like he goes through all of his progressions and he finds the right person. He's not afraid to sit in the pocket and wait a little bit. So you like seeing that. I think he has a really big arm. The ball zips out of his hands. It's fun watching him. One of the things that I point out right away is I felt like maybe he hung back in the pocket a little bit too much. He didn't step up into the pocket much. But then we watch his throws, and all his throws were right on. I mean, obviously stepping up into the pocket when a pass rush is coming, it buys you time. So I think it would have been a good thing to see him experiment with in college, trying it and still hitting those guys. And maybe I think when he gets to the pros, that'll be one of the things they tell him is learn to step up. It'll buy you more time. You'll be able to hit your guys deeper down the field. So, but outside of that, I liked a lot of what I saw.
Well, because that was one thing I would want to say too, is that it seems like when the pressure is coming, he immediately wants to like avoid the pressure and roll out instead of when there's space in front of him where he could step in the pocket instead and avoid pressure that way. And I think that could be a problem in the NFL because he is an athletic guy, but he's not like crazy athletic. And when he's up against, NFL pro player and that NFL speed, I don't know if he's going to be able to avoid that kind of pressure and roll out the way he tries to do all the time. And I think he will want to learn how to step up in the pocket and avoid pressure that way.
Yeah, but I love the size though. 6'3", 217. He's got that build for a starting quarterback. It's just I saw a tweet and someone said something like he should get the gloves that Charlie's uncle wore in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That was the fix.
That is hilarious because that is actually really funny.
But jumping into stats here for Kenny Pickett, the stats really just pop out. 67.2 completion percentage, 4,319 yards, 42 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a 165.3 quarterback rating, 241 rushing yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns. Played with what conference did we say he played in?
The ACC.
ACC. So he had decent competition, and he led Pitt to an 11-3 record, ranked 13 in the country. So I like Kenny Pickett. I feel, the hand size, it is what it is. You never,
I don't think that makes or break. He has so many good intangibles, and the stats show. Man, when you watch his film and stuff, he kind of seems like he kind of has that it factor to me, at least. I don't know. He just knows how to avoid pressure and to get the ball down the field, throwing the ball when that does happen. And I don't know. It's pretty impressive to me. So I think those kinds of things should matter more than a hand size. You never know. Maybe he will have a fumbling problem or
that was another thing. He did fumble 28 times in college, 28 times, and he lost. Or is it 36 times and he lost 28 of them, or something like that. He had fumble. He had his share of fumbling issues. That's for sure.
That's the thing with him. And you have to remember, if he had regular size hands, he would. He would probably for sure. He would probably for sure be the number 1 quarterback taken off the board. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he still is. I know the Malik Willis hype is real right now. I think even the Ridder hype is getting pretty big now, and some people have him as the 3rd quarterback coming off the board. But I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being the number 1 guy off the board. And if the Vikings were going to go. Actually, it'd be kind of hard if the Vikings were to pick because we are extended Kirk Cousins to just 1 extra year. So it's obviously we're not committed to him long term. So in my opinion, it's probably a smart idea to get a young quarterback either this draft or next year.
If you like Kenny Pickett, if Kwesi likes Kenny Pickett and he gets to 12, do you pull the trigger?
I don't know. It's hard.
Or do you trade for a team that'll want to come up and get him? Who knows?
Something like that. It's hard. I don't know. If they did, I wouldn't be mad. If they did, him or Malik Willis, because Malik Willis just is that boomer bust. He's the kind of quarterback you pick, and now Kwesi's like my first thing I picked him. But if he works out, Kwesi has a job for the next 10 years.
So it's and as we said, I think it's a quarterback class with a lot of potential. I know when we looked at the NFL comparison grades, a lot of them were probably a solid starter within the next couple of years. So
one of these guys are going to be a stud. One of these guys, I bet you any money.
There's always one in every class that works out. There's one in every, not every, but there's one in a lot of quarterback classes have those guys that gain popularity through the end of the year that work out. So
this is a class that doesn't have an obvious number 1 overall. I guess even close to a lot of people's standards, but there's 5 guys that could maybe go up, be drafted in the second, into the first 2 rounds, first 3 rounds at most in any draft.
Yeah.
So, I guess you could say second tier or, probably second tier, third tier guys, I guess, in the opinion of the general population, I guess. But you never know, because Mahomes wasn't a surefire 1 overall or anything like that too. So
it'll be interesting, but a lot of potential in this quarterback class, a lot of potential. All right. So that being said, that'll do it for our top 5 quarterback draft prospects in the 2022 NFL draft. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts on our rankings down in the comment section below. If you want to check out some of our other videos, they'll be linked right up here for you. Most importantly, though, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see more down the road, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
SKOL Vikes.